Week 7 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. So some of these guys playing over their head a little bit, and I think you could sell them high and get good value. The first guy, Lourdes Aguilar of the St. Louis Cardinals. So all of a sudden, the Cardinals have turned things around over the last week, winning 7 out of 8 ball games, and Aguilar has been a big part of that on the season. 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 21 runs scored, 310 average, and a 444 on base. So his on base percentage is amazing, almost getting on base 50% of the time this season is Aguilar. In the last couple weeks, his numbers have been way up there. Homer, 7 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 13 runs scored, 380 average, and a 475 on base. So right now, playing every day for this Cardinal team. They moved him up first in the lineup the last 3 games of this Cardinal team here is Aguilar, and he's paying dividends for this team, and they've really turned things around, like I said, in the last 8 to 10 days right now. But I don't know if it's going to keep up for Aguilar. Not really a high-time prospect coming up through the system, and it was surprising to see Jordan Walker go down to the minor leagues. And Aguilar obviously getting the playing time now. May 10th at the Cubs, 1 for 3 with an RBI. May 12th at the Red Sox, 2 for 3, a run, 2 RBIs, a stolen base. May 13th at the Red Sox, 0 for 4. May 14th at the Red Sox, 3 for 6, 3 runs scored. May 15th versus the Brewers, 2 for 4 with 4 runs scored. And May 16th versus the Brewers in that one, 1 for 3 in that game. So right now, Aguilar playing good baseball, no doubt about it, for this Cardinal team. But I don't know if it's going to keep up. Last season, he had 290 at-bats under his belt. He did hit 14 home runs, which is pretty impressive. But he did only hit 228. So right now, to have a high batting average, over 300, I don't see you keeping up. And I think you could get in a deal, a solid starting pitching, where we know in fantasy baseball it's hard to find good pitching. So right now, while Aguilar is playing good baseball and playing over his head a little bit, especially hitting 375 in the last couple weeks, he's a nice sell high guy. This week, the next hitter is Lourdes Aguilar Jr. of the Arizona Diamondbacks, traded in the offseason in the Dalton Varsho deal. Aguilar Jr., he's been pretty solid so far in the first couple months of the season here for this Diamondback team. 6 homers, 23 RBIs, 24 runs scored, a stolen base, a 309 average, and a 371 on base. So the one thing I'll say that's going to be consistent and legit is the batting average. Last season we saw Gurriel with a 291 average, but already has more home runs this year than he did last, in 300 less at-bats, so that's a little surprising to me. And over the last 2 weeks, he's white hot is Gurriel. 5 homers, 10 RBIs, 12 runs scored, a 405 average, and a 522 on base, so obviously that's not sustainable. He was a top pickup a couple weeks ago on the waiver wire, and if you have a guy like Gurriel, pick him up off the waiver wire and flip him for a player with more of a track record and consistency, or a starting pitcher that's been good, this would be the time to do it, because I think he'll be a decent fantasy option as a third outfielder, utility option, but I don't think he's going to keep these numbers up. Obviously, at this rate, May 11th versus the Giants, 1 for 4. May 12th versus the Giants, 2 for 4 with a run and a rib. May 14th versus the Giants, 1 for 4 with an RBI. May 15th at the A's, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs in that one. So Gurriel right now playing great baseball. He's showing some power. The batting average, like I said, is definitely a legit thing for him, though, obviously. He's been hitting 280s, 290s over the last few seasons. But right now, the power I don't think is going to be sustainable after last season, where he hit in a great lineup like the Blue Jays and only hit 5 home runs. So right now, while he's on a hot streak and a top-ranked player in the top 20 in the last couple weeks here, he's a sell-high candidate this week. The next guy is Kiermaier of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Kiermaier, we know he's had some decent seasons throughout his career with division rival, the Tampa Bay Rays, but this season right now, he's back in action, having a big year on the season for Kiermaier. 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 19 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 321 average, and a 383 on base. So right now, he's playing great baseball, no doubt about it, is Kiermaier. We know he's a hard-nosed player and a guy who's got underrated power as well, but last season was a bad year for him. I know it was only 206 at-bats, but he did only hit 228 with 7 homers. So right now, well, he's on a hot streak, especially the last 2 weeks, hitting 455 with a homer and 4 RBIs and 3 bags. It's a perfect time to sell him high because, like I said, he's not known for a batting average guy. Yes, stolen bases, he will give fantasy owners a Kiermaier, but right now, he's playing way over his head. May 12th versus the Braves, 1 for 1. May 13th versus the Braves, 3 for 4, 2 runs scored, a stolen base. May 15th versus the Yankees, 2 for 3. and May 16th versus the Yankees in that one, 1 for 3 with a homer. So right now playing great baseball, but he's just a sell-high candidate is Kiermaier. I don't see the average keeping up. I don't see him hitting for much power, maybe 10 to 15 home run range when it's all said and done this season. And right now, like I said, he's been a 220, 230 hitter the last few years. So he's a sell-high candidate this week. The next guy I look to sell in trades in Harrison Bader of the New York Yankees. So Bader, ever since he came off the injured list a couple weeks ago, he's been white hot, and this Yankee team's been winning ball games and hitting the baseball hard and showing power. On the year, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, 9 runs scored, a stolen base, a 333 average, and a 378 on-base percentage. So last season, Bader had 292 at-bats and had 5 homers and already 3 homers in the 42 at-bats since he's returned off the injured list to start the season. So right now, we know Bader's a hard-nosed player. We know he's in a solid lineup with some good sluggers, obviously, over there in New York, with Aaron Judge leading the way. And he's not going to keep it up as well as Bader. He's more of a defensive player and a stolen base guy, where last season, 5 homers, 30 RBIs, 17 bags, and a 250 average. So I expect the batting average to drop pretty easily here for Harrison Bader. And right now, he's just been on a hot streak for this Yankee team, and it has to do with him being in the lineup with solid hitters. May 12th versus the Rays, 1 for 4 with a run. May 13th versus the Rays, 0 for 4. May 14th versus the Rays, 1 for 4 with a run and a stolen base. May 15th at the Jays, sat that one out. May 16th at the Blue Jays, 0 for 3 with an RBI in that one. So right now, while Bader's playing good baseball and he's a hard-nosed player, he's just not a guy that's going to have sustainable numbers for this Yankee team, I believe. And I think you could get a decent starting pitcher or maybe a closer and another bat in a deal for him in the 5th and final hitter I look to sell and trade this week. Here's his teammate Anthony Rizzo. So Anthony Rizzo off to a nice start this season. It's not the power that's surprising to me. He's always been a 25 to 30 home run guy minimum is Anthony Rizzo, but the batting average is way up there, 308 average and a 390 on base. We always know he's been a solid on base guy, but the last few years, Rizzo's is hitting 220 to 250 range at best. Last season, like I said, 32 and 75 will have the power and the RBIs, but he's not going to have the average. So far this year, 9 homers, 23 RBIs, 27 runs scored, a 308 average, and a 390 on base. So obviously great numbers to start the year for Rizzo. And this is how this Yankee team over the last 2 weeks have really got things going and been playing great baseball, with Rizzo in the time, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 13 runs scored, a 377 average, and 441 on base. So right now, having a great couple weeks here is Rizzo, and it's a perfect time to sell him high. And Rizzo, he's still going to be valuable to fantasy owners, but you could squeeze a little bit more out in a trade here for him, obviously, because the numbers, he's playing over his head as well, and he's showing the power in a big way of late. May 11th versus the Rays, 0 for 3 with a run. May 12th versus the Rays, 2 for 4, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. May 13th versus the Rays, 3 for 5 with a run. May 14th versus the Rays, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs. And May 15th at the Jays in that one, 1 for 5 with an RBI, and set out May 16th game. So right now, Anthony Rizzo, he's showing average, he's showing power, but the batting average will drop, I believe, here for Anthony Rizzo. And he's a guy you could sell high and get a good starting pitcher, or maybe 2 cheap bats in a deal for. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade here in week 7 of the fantasy baseball season.